Hello everyone, it's Karen at the Cool Tools Studio. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can quickly and easily apply powder coat to the inside of a ring. I wanted to start off by thanking Cindy Pope for introducing us at Cool Tools to powder coating. When she first visited, I was so excited about all the colors, but also the practical applications of powder coat, mostly how it could be used to seal a base metal ring. I played around with several different methods of applying powder coat to the inside of a ring so it wouldn't turn your fingers green. And today I'm going to be sharing with you the method that I thought was most straightforward and simple. Here are the tools you need to apply powder coat to the inside of a ring. Some heat-resistant gloves and a respirator mask, some liquid to powder, and then a container to mix your liquid to powder in. I like these little pallets because they're the perfect size, and then you can shut the lid on them and keep your material nice and clean until you use it next time. You're also going to need a powder coat of your choice. I'm working with Snow Cone Blue. I really love the way that the color contrasts with this Aureus bronze. You also need some inlay tools, a little applicator brush, some cross-lock tweezers, a brush for cleanup, a palette knife, and then a scale, a tile for moving in and out of the kiln, and a tough card to bake your pieces on. And then of course you need some rings to apply the powder coat to. I'm going to be showing applying the powder coat to this ring that I created using Aureus bronze. But Cool Tools also just sells these pre-made blanks if you're just wanting to dive right into the powder coating. The first step you want to take before you even think about applying your powder coat is cleaning your metal. So I have some denatured alcohol, but you could also use acetone on this brush here, and I'm running it along the inside of my ring where I will be applying the powder coat. And this might be overkill, but just because I'm wanting to make sure I don't have any contaminants, I also go ahead and clean the container that I'm going to be mixing in, and then the tools that I'm going to be stirring and then using to potentially apply the powder coat. And this is just in case there's any grease, if I might have touched these with dirty hands, or anything like that that could complicate or compromise the quality of the powder coat. I'd just rather be safe than sorry. So I'm cleaning my tools first. So now that everything's clean, I'm ready to mix up my liquid to powder with my powder coat. So I usually start off by turning on my scale and zeroing it out with whatever I'm going to be mixing in on the scale. And I'm switching to grams here. I zeroed it out. And I usually start by scooping out my powder coat first. And anytime I'm scooping or mixing the powder coating material, I like to wear a respirator mask just because it is very lightweight. And you don't need a ton for this project, but you can save it in these containers for later. So I usually, since it is a little bit more difficult to control the liquid medium, I usually do about 0.25 grams. So I'm sitting at about 0.25 there. I'm going to zero out my scale and try to add liquid powder to 0.24 as it was just reading. And you add these two materials by weight. It's a 50-50 ratio of weight. The first time I did this, I just saw, oh, 50-50, and I thought volume, so I used a little teaspoon measure, and it did not turn out as it should. So make sure you're measuring equal parts by weight. All right, so once you have it weighed out to be equal, you're going to mix with your palette knife. Until it's completely combined. You shouldn't be able to see any kind of dry, sandy looking parts. It should all be one even consistency. And then at this point, you're ready to apply your powder coat. So you have a couple options here. For a wider band like this, sometimes I'll just use the palette knife, but you could also use an inlay tool. And basically all you're going to do is scoop and pick up with whichever tool you use, and then kind of really quickly lay it down and distribute. So I'm kind of just dragging with this palette knife edge. Along the material here. And it's really easy to control this way. It's not runny, so you don't have to worry about it kind of flowing over your edge too much, but if it does, that's what the little extra brush I had up here is for. You can just dust it off. So again, I just kind of place and then use the edge to distribute. This is the method that I found most straightforward and simple. I played around with masking the outside and then dipping, but I found with that method that I had some overhang on the sides and it just didn't turn out as cleanly as with this method. But I'm sure there are other techniques you could try as well, but I've been really happy with the way that this method has turned out. So I'm just going to keep applying until I've filled the whole inside of my ring band. So at this point I come in with my brush and I just kind of pat along to even out any lines or any kind of thin spots that may exist from just the initial application. And it's just a dry brush, but it really does help kind of even things out without removing any material or disrupting the surface too much. Sometimes I have to kind of flip. And then I'll also use this brush to knock off any that has come over my edge. So at this point, you're ready to let your piece dry. And this is another spot where in the testing I kind of stumbled a little bit, and I would look and be like, okay, I think that's probably dry, and I would pop it in the toaster oven and then it would come out filled with bubbles. So in my earlier tries, I wasn't letting them dry enough. So I ended up having the best success when I would leave them to dry for about 6 to 8 hours, or just overnight ideally. So what I would do is I would just place it like this on my tough card, because that's actually how I'm going to be putting it in the kiln to bake. So I'll just leave it like this to dry, and then you'll be ready to bake it. You'll want to check your powder coating packaging to see how high and how long you need to bake your pieces for. And then it's always a good practice to have an oven thermometer in your toaster oven to make sure that it's baking at the proper temperature so you don't overheat your pieces. So on my way into the oven, I usually just use these heat-resistant gloves and will place my ring directly onto the shelf. And it can fire on that tough card. It's a great surface to bake onto because if you do have any overflow, it'll just pop right off and it won't go down to the bottom of your oven there and burn. So this is going to bake for 10 minutes. So it's been baking for 10 minutes and at this point I'm ready to take it out. And for that, because this card it can kind of slide off on the way out and I don't want to be touching the hot tough card with my hands, I'll usually bring a towel right up to the edge here and drag out onto. And just like that, you've powder coated the inside of a ring. I initially thought I was mostly interested in this technique just to keep my fingers from reacting with the metal of base metal rings. But the powder coating on the inside of these ring bands is seriously so comfortable, and I'm thinking about applying some of these colors to a silver ring band too. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.